Hi, this video recording is to discuss the Monmouth University field placement and to provide information to you in the beginning of the current semester. My name is Gary Handler. I'm the field placement coordinator for Monmouth University students doing field placement. And
I'm Lisa Himmelman. I'm the assistant field placement coordinator.
So what we would like to do is basically talk a little bit about sort of how we prepare our students to go to field placement, and then discuss sort of the requirements that Monmouth University has for the students, which in turn, of course, put some requirements on the supervisors at the field placement. So, and then we'll talk about communications with us during the whole semester. So let's go first to talk about the context. So the students coming to you, they basically take 3 semesters of placement. The first semester is a practicum, and the next 2 semesters are internships. For the practicum, they have to have taken 24 credits before they apply, and they had a certain number of courses that they must have taken, so that you know what kind of preparation that requires. They will have had group theory, they will have theories and techniques, they should have learned case conceptualization. Those are primarily the main things that they will have gone through, and like I said, 24 credits. For the internship, the requirement is 30 credits, and for that they have to have, obviously would have had to have a practicum, so therefore all those requirements. And in addition to that, they have to have a course in drug and alcohol abuse counseling. So those are essentially the educational requirements before they come out to you. Now, as far as the requirements are concerned, once they are out there, we require, for the practicum, we require 100 hours of service. And 50 of those hours at minimum must be face-to-face counseling. Face-to-face counseling is literally taking primary responsibility for either an individual client or for a group. Essentially each of those hours count as face-to-face. The rest of it, like supervision, training for them, or documentation, into the non-direct hours. And so that makes up the other half. For the internship, it's 300 hours required, and the same thing, half of it must be face-to-face, and then the remaining one can be the non-direct hours. Okay, so those are the primary requirements, and again, obviously that's a requirement for you, because in order to get a grade in the course, they have to complete at minimum those hours that are required. Supervision is the next thing, and so let me first talk about the time. So we require them to have at least 1 hour of face-to-face supervision. Once every 3 times, that could be in a group, but most of the time it should be face-to-face with the supervisor. And also, we prefer if it's regularly scheduled so that it's predictable and the student knows and you know when it occurs. But obviously, if the schedules don't allow that, then sometimes that won't work. So that's our primary requirement as far as what supervision consists of. Lisa is going to talk to you a little bit about some of the evaluations that we require, that she'll be prompting you via the computer to get.
Yes, so there is an evaluation process during both the practicum and internship. For practicum students only, internship students do not require this. There is a biweekly progress report that has to be completed every other week in order for us to track the progress of our practicum students, since it is their first field placement. And every 2 weeks, you're going to be receiving a reminder which will let you know that the next biweekly report is due that week. Usually the reminder will go out on a Monday and the biweekly report will be due on a Friday. So we ask that you can keep up with doing those biweekly reports as you get the reminders. And as I said, this is specifically for practicum students only. In addition, there is a midterm evaluation halfway through the semester and a final evaluation at the end of the semester. This is required for all students, practicum and internship. You will be getting a prompt through a site called Chalk and Wire, which is an assessment system that we use for our tracking of student progress and for our accreditation. And once you get that email prompt, click on the link that's in the email, and that will take you directly to an evaluation to complete on that specific student. Each student requires an evaluation, just like each practicum student requires a biweekly form. So every student individually will have these reports done. And when the time comes that the midterm evaluation is going to be sent out and the final evaluation is going to be sent out, you will also get an email coming directly from me letting you know that the Chalk and Wire email is about to come through. You should be prepared to fill out the evaluation, and that we ask you to sit down with your students while you do these evaluations so there aren't any surprises to them or to their professors when the evaluation is received.
Okay, so the next part of the requirement is a recording that's required for each of our students. Recordings are required for both the internship and the practicum students. For practicum, we require a minimum of 2, and for the internship, we require 1. We do understand that there are potentially problems, at least at a few of the sites. We ask that if you do have an issue with making a requirement that you contact the university professor and sort of figure out an alternative way of providing sufficient information. It is definitely thought that it's best practice to have direct supervision at least some of the time, which is literally seeing a student council. So for that to occur for the university professor, the only way to do that will be the recordings. For you, you could essentially do it by observing the student counseling, actually counseling. So speaking of that, if I didn't mention it, in addition to they being at your field placement, the students are required to be in a regular class that has a professor assigned to it. The class is primarily a group supervision class where they go over cases, where they observe, potentially look at a recording, and then finally they present cases to sort of show what they can, how they can conceptualize the case and work it through treatment. So the last piece we want to discuss is communication. You do have a field placement contact. I mean, obviously, Lisa and I are contacts for certain issues, which we'll talk about. But your primary contact for every student is the university professor that has that student in class. So we'll talk about that. So Lisa, I'm going to let Lisa finish the discussion about the communications.
Sure. So in terms of communications that you'll be receiving, a lot of it is via email. So either emailing that's coming directly from myself or from Gary or from the student's field placement course professor. You will be also receiving communication via Chalk and Wire, which I discussed earlier in terms of the evaluation. So you should be aware that emails are going to be coming in that way. The university professor will also be reaching out to you within the first 2 weeks of the semester via phone and or email to introduce him or herself, let you know the expectations throughout the semester, and to also just serve as a contact for you. If there are issues that come up with your students specifically, something happens during the course of the semester, you should make sure to contact that professor, and you'll have that person's information in order to do so, to discuss the issue and try to resolve it with them as quickly as possible, and then also be able to resolve it with the student. In terms of other issues or questions that may come about, whether it's the field placement process in general, any openings that you may have for practicum or internship students in the coming semesters, you should please feel free to reach out to myself or Gary. Email is a great way to contact us. My email is lhimmelma@monmouth.edu. Gary's email is ghandler@monmouth.edu. And we would really welcome you to reach out to us at any point with questions, with openings, or if other things related to the field placement process come up.
So we hope this short introductory video helps you to introduce the semester to you and sort of our process, and also to encourage you to communicate with us in any form that you wish, with any kind of ideas for how to make this process better, how to communicate with us, or anything else that you might require. And finally, what I want to do is thank all of you for the support that you're showing to our students. This is a very, very, if not the most critical part of their education, because it really is the first time where they get hands-on opportunity with real clients and get feedback on that, and to sort of begin to do what will be necessary for their professional career. Thank you.
Thank you.